I'm going to be a little more focused. My name is Mary Miner. I am going in for my third round of chemo on Friday, and I call myself grateful for the Affordable Care Act is underwhelming. You know, I think that I'm in front of you today because of that courageous move. And I hope I am not going to put you all to sleep, but I have a platform. I have a mission, and that is giving you a little historical background. Back in World War II, when things like meat and groceries were being allocated, it was very important to get people to join the military, and so wages were frozen, and people could not offer more money to workers because they would take away from the military. So what happened during that time is that insurance, health insurance, became a way for employers, especially large employers, to get people to come work for them. This is, in my humble opinion, one of the reasons why our health care costs are more than any other country in total dollars per capita as a percentage of GDP. If this was a good thing to follow, other countries would have done the same thing. They don't, because it's a stupid way to fund health insurance. Here's the thing. If it's good for your employer to buy your health insurance, then have your employer buy your car insurance. Have your home insurance paid for by your employer. It is not. And this is the dirty little secret that nobody wants to talk about. Because if we got rid of tax incentives for employers to buy insurance for their workers, everybody would be on a level playing field. Buying health insurance would be like buying auto insurance. We'd all buy it for ourselves instead of feeling a need to get it from our employer. And it's because it's what we're used to, we think that's the good way to do it. It's a stupid way to do it, and it should stop.
My name is Marla, and I too want to talk about the Affordable Care Act. If the Affordable Care Act were not in place, I have some mental illness, and I wouldn't be able to get the medication that I need because it would cost too much. My Ventolin alone costs $300 for a 30-day supply. $300. That's a lot of money, and I wouldn't be able to have it. I wouldn't be able to see the counselor that I see because she's not allowed to take Medicaid. She's only allowed to take money. She's not licensed to take Medicaid at all. So, with that in mind, I just really want the Affordable Care Act to stay in place.
Hello everybody, my name is Pete D.A. Peterson. I'm proud to be here and I'm glad that there's such a great turnout. I wanted to say that I'm part of the smaller group of people who are standing up against Trump's policies. We don't support him. We've put together the town hall today on very short notice, and it's great to have all of you here, so that's really awesome. But I wanted to say, I'm a veteran of the Armed Forces, the Marine Corps, and the U.S. Army. And to see right now Trump not knowing where his Navy is just another lie. I think that's another lie we got to stand up to. It's like, wait a second. There should be a message from all of us to our representatives that if you're going to pass a tax reform bill We got to see Trump's taxes. We must take some action to send a message to the representatives, and I think that's what we're doing here today. Since they don't want to come, they don't want to show up. Every Tuesday, a number of us in the group, we go down to their offices and we consistently ask, when is the town hall? When are you going to show up and speak to your representatives or constituents on these particular issues? And it hasn't happened. We've got various Facebook town halls, which all are softball questions to the representatives. But I think if we talk about our issues here and send this message to them, we say, we got some concerns about the president, the so-called president, and we want the representatives here who are Republicans to stand up to the president because, well, we got a lot of concerns. We don't want to go to war with North Korea. We don't want to go to war with Syria. These are very important. We want to keep our health care. Thank you.
All right.
Actually, I will. I'm an angry Republican, okay? Okay. I'm a mother of four, okay? My mother has her own small business. Their business is failing after 30 years, okay? This crash that we had was in all our homes, our jobs. I mean, really? Seriously, we're already struggling. We have people here with mental illness who can't even afford their medication. My mother's medication is $300, and that's for an eye drop to prevent her from going blind. She has a small business. That's a lot of money out of anybody's pocket. Second, okay, Murkowski, great. Okay, she did a few great things, but it's not enough. Okay? She can bite me. I'm so angry right now. Okay? She's a moderate Republican. Well, guess what? I'm a moderate Republican too. But you know what? What is that doing for me? What is that doing for my neighbors? Okay? We're all starving. I'm on low income. Okay? I can't find a fucking job. Why? Because nobody's hiring. Because nobody's making enough money to be able to hire more people. Now, the orange man in our White House, okay, he's all about jobs. Well, why does he have so many jobs in government not being filled?
Yes.
Where's I'm the jobs president? Okay. All those people he fired are unemployed. Where does that make sense? Hello? Okay. And Planned Parenthood, okay, I'm pro-life choice. Okay, if anybody's offended, sorry. It is none of my business what they do. However, if we can encourage them not to go there in the first place, we won't get knocked up, we won't have babies. We don't have babies, we won't be judging these young mothers on, well, you can't feed them, don't have them. Okay? My daughter is 17. She goes to South, well, she did, and she even appreciates people going in there, Planned Parenthood, explaining the dangers of having sex. Okay, there's such a thing as cooties. I tell my kid, okay, there is. Okay, my friend got an STD. She almost died from it. Okay, had she not had Planned Parenthood to get this test, she never would have known. She cannot afford to pay cash for her doctor. Okay, I have to educate my child on sex education when it's offered at school. Why not? Let's see, because it's going to encourage kids to go get knocked up? I don't think so. Okay? Really? And I'm very angry that they are trying to bring faith into our public school. Okay? Okay? I believe in God. Nobody else does. That's okay. Sorry. But that should have nothing to do with my child's education and preparing my child and her friends for adulthood. Okay? Where is the education for them to learn how government works? Okay, if they don't know, they won't know how to stand up like the rest of us and complain, but our complaints are going nowhere. The representatives are not afraid of any of us. Jefferson, he himself was very clear. The people should not be afraid of their government. Their government should be afraid of its people. Where is freedom?
understandably, there's a lot of people, Republicans, Democrats, who have a lot of different views on tax policy or, how we should do healthcare. That's fine. But what we need to understand is that with this administration, there are a lot of not normal things that are going on that are being passed up. And it's something that's okay because you have a Republican in office. We're seeing incredible amounts of nepotism in the White House. We're seeing people being put in cabinet positions who've never set foot in a public school. I'm talking about Betsy DeVos here, right? I mean, we're seeing people like Steve Bannon having really high-level positions in government. His son-in-law is the one who's, making a ton of policy decisions without ever having been elected. All of these things are not normal. All of these things is not how government is run. We need to have our Republican legislatures put country before party and actually understand that they can oppose Trump doing things that are not normal while still supporting the policies that they agree with because they're Republicans. We can have that kind of complexity. We can have that kind of diversity in thought without losing, party identity. And I think the more that we can attach people to parties and not ideas to parties, we're just going to continue to see this getting worse. So I'm asking our legislators, if they were here, to stand up and do what's right for the citizens.
Hi, my name is Susan Ritter. I'm a special education teacher here in Anchorage at the Anchorage School District. I run into Senator Murkowski in the summertime, and I speak with her with respect and with a dialogue. And I respect her comments to me. I don't always agree with her. Probably most of the time I don't. But what I'm looking for from our Republican representatives is that dialogue that is respectful and that they stand up as a group, because there are moderate Republicans who should not be afraid of our president. And I feel that is what's happening, is that they're one tweet away of something. And that's not how you run our government. And I have concerns with our the first speaker's her conversation of the EPA. We need that. We need clean water, clean air. I have just concerns about the oil industry is getting a bargain deal here in Alaska, and they want to go further into the Arctic, and that's a concern for me up there. I have a concern when I write to my legislators that I have a very specific question and I get a 6-paragraph answer that has nothing to do clearly with what my concern is. So I wanted to just a 1 or 2 sentence comment and then respond back. And lastly, I feel that, I don't think I would say this with Representative Young here, but I really believe that it's time for him to retire. I have elderly parents, and I would not want my 92-year-old father in this House of Representatives. I just think it's wrong. Thank you very much.
Hello folks, my name is Hannah Watkins. I am a senior at Service High School in the seminar program. And I have some thoughts about a bit of a niche subject that's actually already been touched on tonight, and that is the subject of sex education in public schools. So I am a member of Planned Parenthood Teen Council, and we are peer educators, meaning that we speak to our peers, in middle schools and high schools. We speak to them as fellow teenagers, and we speak to them as people that they can always come to for help if they don't want to go to a teacher, they don't want to go to a parent, if they don't feel comfortable, going to an adult. And Planned Parenthood is really important to me for a lot of reasons, but I think that the chief reason among that is that when someone comes to me and says, I think I have an STD, my response isn't, well, can you pay for a test? But can you get a ride to Planned Parenthood so that you can get that checked out and possibly get medical attention for it? Because STDs are not a joke. They can result in infertility if they're not treated. They can result in lifelong damage, and they can result in death. And what's more, when they're not treated, then they're spread, and they go from being an acute condition that's easily cleared up to a chronic condition. And beyond STDs, we also have the issue of teen pregnancy. And what happens with teen pregnancy is that not only is the child of that pregnant teen affected, but that teenager often can't stay in school. They drop out of school, they have difficulty getting a job, they have to rely on their parents for help, and it's just, it affects their education, it affects their life prospects. And then beyond teen pregnancy, a huge problem that we have in Alaska is the problem of domestic violence and rape. And I was, a few weeks ago, doing a lesson on consent and healthy relationships. And it occurred to me that I was doing that lesson for one day in one semester in middle school. And what if some kid missed that lecture, and that was the only opportunity that they had all of their life to hear about what a healthy relationship is and isn't, and maybe in the future, that kid might not be able to protect themselves for rape, or could end up raping somebody. So I understand that there are many people with philosophical differences to Planned Parenthood, but I also cannot possibly understand why those differences mean defunding Planned Parenthood entirely. There are teen councils all across the nation, there's sex education all across the nation, and there's health care all across the nation that cannot happen without Planned Parenthood. So I please urge our senators and our representatives to please stand with Planned Parenthood and do not defund our health care.
I also wanted to talk about the theme that seems to be most prominent, that's Planned Parenthood. And basically, what I want to ask is our three Republicans who represent the Republican Party, why is it that this party seems to be in the vanguard of taking the decision about families away from the people who are in the family, as opposed to old white men who don't have any knowledge about what's going on in your family? That's all I want to say.
Hi, I'm Michael. I kind of like to bounce off the First Lady there. You're talking about things like education and why we defunding a lot of other things like education. And my thing here the last couple of days has been, why don't we look at things like taxing churches, paying their fair share? Why? I think it's unconscionable to think about taking money away from our kids and not have people be responsible. I have nothing against churches. It's fine. You want to go to church and pray, that's your right. But why? And it's unconstitutional for one thing, for them not to pay taxes and so forth and so on. But we're in, a time of life where we need to start looking at those kinds of things. Why aren't we looking at those kinds of things first before we're looking at trashing our own kids' educations and so forth? I mean, it's just no
I'm just going to briefly piggyback on that. I do know that one of the things that's being considered right now is allowing churches to officially endorse candidates. And that has not been, there's always been kind of a truce where people, churches didn't have to necessarily pay taxes, but they couldn't officially endorse candidates. That is, there are forces right now that are trying to change that.
They do that every year.
Yes. Well, and we now have people in power who have the ability to change that.
Well, another thing is, I'm seeing that the churches are coming for who you should vote for, and they're putting it on people's yards and stuff. I mean, wait a minute, isn't it supposed to be that, what is it called? Separate. Yeah, and that is no more separation than the man of the moon. And I'm looking at how much money is going for them. How much do they own? They own so much. Jets even. They own jets and stuff. And it's like, I'm just looking at it and I'm saying, it would help our school system, it would help our kids, it would help be able to get jobs going. It would help yeah, our taxes from going up. I mean, you just look at how much would be helped at, and they're already involved in telling them how to go vote. And I just think it's garbage.
I'm Robin. I asked Senator Sullivan what his stance was, what he believed about climate change, and I got a letter back several weeks after I asked the question. It basically said that we need to do more research on climate change. And what we really need in Alaska is to think about development and how we can develop. And now, let's look at how much funding the Republicans are supporting for climate research. And as Alaskans, we kind of care about how healthy our oceans are. And so to me, it's pure party. This attack on science is absolutely unacceptable. We need enough research to make informed decisions. So also just a plug, on Earth Day, there's a science march.
Hi, I'm Cody Williams. I want to talk about now I have nothing against the military. My dad was in the military for over 20 years. I'm grateful for the benefits he received from that, or all my young childhood, my medical was covered by military and stuff, and even now with my mental disability, I'm functioning, thankfully I'm able to be covered by the military because of that. But what I'm upset about is Trump's proposal for 60 billion? 54 billion more for the military. The military doesn't need more money. What it needs is someone to go through, find where the wasteful money is going, and cut those programs. Our military can function and still be the #1 top military in the world, and I have no problem with that, and frankly I have no problem with being the biggest either, but it can do that with far less money that we're spending on it. We need to cut, frankly we need to cut military spending, but not just flat cut, it needs to be smart cutting. We need to find the programs that don't do anything. There's a lot of wasteful spending in the military. I know people in the military who bitch about this, bitch about the wasteful spending. They're like, why are we spending the money like this? That needs to stop, and that will save a lot of money. So, just to sum up, I'm all for the military, but we need to be smart about it.
Hi, my name's Sherry Thompson, and I'm going to reiterate on that point. I have been doing my research into our military and the budget, and the $54 billion that is proposed to be added to our military budget. As of this point, in the Iraqi war, 52% of the budget went to 10 contractors. 10. They're paying our soldiers dimes while they are spending 6 figures to pay somebody to wash their laundry. We have so much ridiculous waste, and that money is not going to go to our veterans that don't have a place to live, that don't have, yes, they have insurance, but it's marginal. We all know that. They're not taken care of well enough. My sister runs 9 homes down in Eugene, Oregon, and houses 65 veterans right now. And she has done it out of her pocket for 5 years with donations and support from the community. She just now has received a grant. But she has been fighting this problem and trying to house and take care of our veterans. And this money that he is proposing is not going to help the people that are already served. Thank you.
I want to talk about the opioid epidemic and ACA. So last I saw, it's about 96 people in the U.S. are dying every day just from opioid overdoses. In high school, I lost 2 close friends from opioid overdoses. I've seen friends ruin their lives, end up in jail. It's just a disaster. Donald Trump on the campaign was saying he was going to fix it. do that in the healthcare system. Then they propose the AHCA, and they're going to cut opioid funding. I know people who are on Medicaid, and the only reason they can stay on their maintenance treatment is because the ACA expanded, so they had to cover it. So if the congressmen were here, I'd ask that they promise, since they're saying they're still going to repeal the ACA or something like that, that they won't put anything that's not going to cover opioid addiction funding. They're going to expand that. You know, shouldn't be something they're cutting. It should be something they're expanding.
Good evening. My name is Andre Horton. I see a lot of familiar faces. I work with Protect Our Care Alaska. From one coalition to another, it's an awesome privilege to see all of you here. It's awesome. Great. I've had 3 town halls this whole last year with Protect Our Care, and one of the galvanizing statements I hear from politicians in D.C. is that Alaska is an oddity, and yes, we are. The reason we're an oddity is I think we bind and bound together more than other states do. And on top of that, for our population size, we wield a lot of influence on politicians. And I know that can be a very fickle statement given they're not here tonight. But part of my job is I work for lobbyists. And there's a whole entire back-end group of people that are fighting to protect our health care. And I can't actually go into details on who they are, but they're people that really care with blood, sweat, and tears about health care.
Are they any of them?
No. I didn't see Lisa Murkowski last week, and I spoke with Don Young last week. I can tell you that much. And I can tell you that they are facing an excruciating amount of pressure from the GOP. And while I know it's difficult as an Alaskan, when they make key decisions and choices, your thank you goes a lot farther than you can possibly imagine. And I know some of you have written letters to the editors and op-eds saying, hey, Lisa, thank you for voting the right way on this. And I know you're going to face even more pressure in the coming weeks. But a coalition like this and a group like this, you guys wield an amazing amount of influence. And I'm the one that gets to read the emails saying, WTF, what's up with Alaska? How did we get so much email so fast? So I'm just encouraging you to keep up the work. Write letters to the editor, write op-eds, because the senatorial staff reads them. And yes, some of you get these 6-page or 6-paragraph long responses. They're covering their ass. That's what they're supposed to do, and that's what they do, unfortunately. But they're still getting read, and they still take notice. So keep it up. I really appreciate it.
My name is Sherry Olson. I'm here from Wasilla. I ran for my district actually and lost. But I did it because somebody had to. I'm also the survivor of a 100-mile-an-hour head-on car collision, which means that myself and the person who hit me were both going at least 50 miles an hour when both of our cars collided. And trust me, I was going 55 in cruise control. Okay. Anyway, so I'm moving on. Now I'm here. I want to talk about opiate addiction, and I want to proudly say I am not one of those people.
Right on.
You'd have to wonder because 100 miles an hour head on. It crashed all the bones in my feet, shattered both my ankles. I gotta go fast because she's timing me. I had 5 breaks of the fibula and tibula in both legs, fractured my left hip, cut my spleen, but they sewed it together, broke 3 ribs, collapsed both lungs. I don't know how long it took them to resuscitate me. Dislocated my jaw, knocked out 5 teeth, had to have the roots removed at a later date. Facial fracture on my left eye, multiple concussions. Now I have seizures, never ran them all. So when I close my eyes, when I open them, when it is done, it's done. So why I don't drive. The man who was holding us up, actually, I'm with him. So, but the point I'm making, I want to get to is that I told my doctor before I left the hospital, I said, I want to take marijuana instead of all. Trust me, they had me on all kind of crap. Can I please? May I? Yeah. They had me on all kinds of crap in that hospital with all those injuries. Trust me, I was taking stuff from my stomach. I was taking stuff from my head. I'm taking stuff for the pain. I'm taking all kinds of stuff. But when I got out the hospital, a friend said, Sherry, try marijuana. Okay.
Good friend.
So I go to my doctor, John Duddy. Okay, some of you may know who he is. I tell John Duddy that I no longer want to take all, and I'm taking stuff for sleeping, I'm taking stuff to wake up, that I don't want to take any of this stuff anymore. And he did like this. Sherry, do you know you're the first person ever to ask me not to take an opiate? He goes, I'm going to have to wean you off of them, and that's going to take a couple of months. But if that's what you want, he weaned me off. I'm not taking any now, but I can tell you this is what happened to some friends of mine. I know friends who try to take marijuana, smoke marijuana, or eat it, or whatever they do, it doesn't matter. And they go to their doctor's office, and the doctor tests and they have marijuana in their system. They want to penalize them with their prescriptions and mess with their prescriptions because of the marijuana. It's ridiculous. But it's happening. A girlfriend of mine was on the pain management. She wanted to go down on her pills because she was nodding at inappropriate times. And I gave her some marijuana. Long story short, she had to stop the marijuana because the doctor was like, no, because she messed with the girl's prescription. So I get the marijuana back. She goes back to taking all the opiates full time. My friend is now deceased. She fell like a month after she went back to the opiates full time and busted her head and got 9 stitches, and things just went downhill from there. And here I am, opiate free, and I told you everything that I broke.
Hi, my name is Tom Lockish. I have a few concerns, particularly that I hope our representatives will address. I'm basically an ecologist that believes in the broadest diversity of species at the fastest rate of evolution, and all good shepherds of life should pursue those ends. And I think the greatest threat to humanity today is cyber war. It is much quicker than nuclear war or any conventional war, and we need to have a cyber war treaty throughout the world. There will be a number of seconds until the entire world is engaging in stuxneting everybody else, and all of our utilities and communications and water supply would be immediately stopped. It would be worse than a nuclear war, except that the nuclear retaliation thereafter would put us into a nuclear winter, and all of the continents would be blacked out before the missiles landed. I think that our senators should instruct our administration to seek reunification of the Korean nation so that we can deal with global warming in Asia. We need transcontinental grids in order to lessen the burden upon the generation system, and that we can incorporate renewable technologies into that. And in pursuit of that, we need to make sure that ARPA-E is refunded so that we can not only develop clean energy technologies, but have commerce around the world with new technologies, because the Republicans apparently want us to go back to pedaling cars with our feet while we ride our dinosaurs. And we will not survive economically as a country, and democracy will fail if we do not compete economically in the world. Thank you.
Thank you. I just wanted to say one thing. My name's Allison. I'm an attorney. I was really offended when the President of the United States tweeted that the former President of the United States broke the law and he did that with no evidence, and I don't think anybody stood up and said that that was wrong on the Republican side of Congress, and I don't believe any of our members did that. And I think that truth and transparency and respect are not partisan issues, and that at some point somebody has to say that the truth is more important than getting reelected. And that's what I'm waiting for.
So, hi, I'm Cindy. I want to thank everybody for being here. I was just going to say exactly what Allison said. If they were sitting up here, the one question I would have is, and I'm going to face them, is when is there enough lying? You know? It's just crazy. When will you stand up against the lying? I said that since day one. And then I just want to make a plug. I put on everybody's chair a postcard or an envelope. The addresses are right there. If you're sitting and you're wanting something to do, we're collecting all of them. I have all the stamps. I'm just trying to get letters. So, when is there enough lying?
Something I haven't heard anybody talk about tonight that I feel like is really important to be addressed before we conclude and everything is the issue of refugees. The Syrian refugee crisis is immense and heartbreaking. I mean, I'm sure all of you have seen the just stunning videos of the chemical warfare of people flowing over the border because their homes have been destroyed and they have nowhere else to go. And just the stunning lack of empathy that I've seen from so many members of Congress who have families, who have loved ones, who know what it looks like to see people in pain and to have people at our doors. And we've seen this before. World War II, we turned away refugees, and looking back on that, that was one of the most horrible human atrocities that we pushed them back towards. And we're putting ourselves in that position again, and we're making the wrong decision. President Trump, being the president, has an incredible amount of latitude over, who gets to come into the country in terms of immigration. Even though his Muslim ban was stayed in the courts, he still can turn away a lot of these refugees without any check on Congress. And the only way we can change that is by putting enough pressure and making it clear that having an anti-refugee stance is not an electorally tenable position. This is a moral issue. This is an issue of, people's lives at stake. And we have to have enough empathy to say that we have the resources to help take care of these people, to help shift some of the burden from other countries. It's an issue of national security. It's an issue of humanity. And I'm really appalled that that's not been a bigger piece of the conversation.
And they have resources to offer us, too. A lot of these refugees are highly educated.
Yes, exactly. We are better from diversity, not worse.
Yes, we are.
I'm Jane. I'm frustrated that we cannot have a town hall with our representatives.
I can't hear you.
I don't understand why they're not here. According to the townhallproject.com, there's around 100 volunteers just collecting this data. Every state in the United States, other than Montana and Alaska, is having town halls. They've got 2 weeks off. So we can write to them and we can call them, but they are generally lock, stock, and barrel, right behind the Trump administration on every issue almost. For example, I wrote to Dan Sullivan about why do we have to have mining within 100 yards of a waterway? It's like, that's all 100 feet of a waterway, even with the pollutants going down. And he's good for industry, even though coal is one of the dirtiest burning fuels out there. So anyway, I sent in and asked where do we go from here. I've told them all, you all can have any ASD auditorium for free. Now, any of us would have to rent it, but they can do it for free. So they are sort of very purposely avoiding it. And this is a very peaceful, kind way where they could see what their constituents are worried about. But I think they're worried, I would appear, about their jobs. Now, I know we just elected Lisa. Dan Sullivan's got 4 years, and then Don Young's 1.5 years. But either way, I hope they will listen. We met person, Dan Sullivan, very hard to get in for a 15-minute appointment. I just begged him to please stand up as an American and, to be aware of the Trump administration and not just the GOP. But it has just fallen flat. Thank you.
Thank you.
I will just add on to that a little bit. I do know that they have had a few town halls in smaller places. I saw a town hall that Don Young had in Petersburg, for instance. And I do know that they've had a couple of Facebook which are not real town halls. And I do know that there may be public appearances. In fact, Lisa Murkowski was in
At Wasilla
Wasilla
Senior Center.
this morning.
There. She didn't answer anything. She just skirted around it.
There you go. And they had been invited for at least a month prior to this. So personally, I'm disappointed that they're not wanting to face the constituents here in Anchorage. And I don't know if it's because of our demographics, that we tend to be more libertarian and maybe a little more liberal on some issues, but or if it's just the sheer numbers. But they are meeting with people, but they aren't meeting with people that don't want to pay $65 a plate. So
You can't respect the interest of the
exactly.
Yeah. That's in Soldotna this week, isn't it?
That is. That's correct.
Yeah.
Come on up.
Should we rent a van and go?
Yeah, let's go.
Hi, my name is Susan. I just wanted to add a couple things onto what people said. When the person was talking about the refugees, it isn't just refugees. When we look at our country, scientists who want to come to our country, I have a daughter who's an immunologist, and she was in England for a number of years, and she has friends from there. And when they wanted to come to conferences here that they've been coming to for years, they're no longer allowed in the country. So, and there are so many little things that are happening along the Canadian border. Now the American Customs are checking people on their way out along with on their way in. There are so many little things that the Trump administration has started that just cut away at our overall appearance of being a friendly nation. And other nations, eventually, they will reciprocate. I mean, that's the way it works. When you start to do negative things to them, they begin to do negative things back. And as we restrict people coming here, they're going to start restricting people going there. And, the bigger the bombs we use, then the bigger the bombs they use. I mean, it's just like every time you step over the line and do something more negative than has been done before, you're just, asking people to be more negative to you in return. And the spiral that's just begun in such a major way in so many areas is frightening. And I think that if we don't see it as an overall frightening thing, it's a mistake. And I think people look at, it's just this little thing, but it really is not.
Thank you.
You can come up more than once, by the way.
Okay, I came up to also grab my. Let me fix this mic. And one thing I also want to say too, as far as we have to ask our representatives and news people, we have to ask everyone to really be honest. Words do matter. Words matter. It makes a difference. What we say, how we say it. I'm getting sick and tired of being talked to, being led through conversation of someone trying to steer how I feel and doing all the projecting that they can by steering the conversation. I am literally insulted. And we have to insist that they give us better than that. Whether they stay in office, for those who are in office, or replace them, we have to also ask our friends, trust me, I have more Republican friends than anything else, and I ran for office. I got 24% of the vote in my district. So things are possible. But we have to also ask them to hold each other accountable. I sat next to a lady on the plane. My son is in Arizona. Lady on the plane, a young lady, 27, boo-hooing the whole time going down. She said she was on her way to Mexico to go visit her husband, who had been in the United States since he was 3 years old. He never knew he was not an American citizen, and they sent him to Mexico. Wow. She was going to visit her husband. We have to ask our friends who are Republican and ask them to also be accountable for what's happening. Thank you.
Hi, I wanted to talk about the budget cuts. I mean, I know that Congress has to decide where we put our money, and somebody mentioned how incredibly large the defense budget is, which I also think is ridiculous. If you look at it as a pie chart, it's more than half the pie almost. It's a huge, it's a ridiculous amount, and they're going to cut Meals on Wheels. They're going to cut, the EPA. They're going to cut the science and arts and all the things that we live for, and the reason why we enjoy being alive, and the reason why we help people. I work for an organization that helps people with mental disabilities, and I'm afraid that there's going to be cuts there, and for jobs, which is a great thing because it gives us, like as staff, just so much meaning in our lives. But then also, of course, the individuals, it gives them the ability to live and be happy and successful and grow. And I'm worried about cuts on that. I mean, who knows if they can cut meals for older people? Of course, it's ridiculous. So yeah, I'm just very saddened by that. And I'm a young person, so I'm very upset about the future of these countries. And I feel like there's nothing I can do to make a difference, especially when they don't show up. Like, well, what are they going to do?
Thank you. So.
Yes. So hi, I'm Cindy. I want to thank everybody for being here. I was just going to say exactly what Allison said. If they were sitting up here, the one question I would have is, and I'm going to face them, is when is there enough lying? It's just crazy. When will you stand up against the lying? I said that since day one. And then I just want to make a plug. I put on everybody's chair a postcard or an envelope. The addresses are right there. If you're sitting and wanting something to do, we're collecting all of them. I have all the stamps. I'm just trying to get letters. So, when is there enough lying?
My name's Patty, and a couple of things keep going through my mind. And ever since Trump gone, now, I've been through Republicans, I've been through Democrats, I've been through, presidents, and nothing like this has ever happened before. So when, right on. I mean, we, and when I see people thinking that we're just upset because the Democrats didn't get their way or anything, well, I'm whatever you call it. I've had a stroke, so me coming up with words is I'm independent, you know what I mean? But my main thing is for all of us. And I went in and I did the march for women. And I mean, it was powerful. It was. And man, I mean, I don't know why, but this guy latched on to me on Channel 11 and everywhere I went. And my husband has just gone through cancer, surgeries, things. We've only been together for 28 years. I don't like the idea. anybody threatening. And that's what it is. It's just like when Trump says, yeah, well, you'll do it my way, or you will pay. You know, it's like that's what he does to the people there over in Washington. Can I keep going?
Yes.
Okay. So my thought is, okay, this is wonderful, us coming here. And if we were to come here more often, it would get bigger and bigger because more people will be talking about it. In my mind, it's like, let's get out of the problem, let's get into the solution. Well, I don't have any friggin' solutions in any of this, you know? All I can do is get up here and be scared, but do what I feel is right in my heart. And that's what we can do. That's what we can do. I mean, when they don't even show up for us, you know, that tells us right there that we're not worthy to them. I mean, in my mind. So I'm thinking, okay, so what can we do? Well, you know, we had a national people everywhere out, and we keep having people out marching and stuff, right? Well, since I went for the women's rights, Trump came in on the backside, and the vice president signed it, and it was like they took away the birth control pill, they took away the abortion, they took away mammograms, they've taken away all of it. They already took it away, right, from the women. So I'm thinking, okay, why can't we've got like tons of things going on. We've got his taxes, he keeps saying, hey, tough luck. I'm president now, so I'm telling you I'm not going to show you my taxes, right? What are you going to do about it? I remember him saying on stage, I could shoot somebody and nobody would do anything. Right. Do you guys remember that?
Yes.
Do you remember that? Well, that's what he is doing, slowly but surely.
Yeah.
So if we can start getting people that'll start getting together and do a complete whole thing of all of us out there marching, and it be taxes, it be, you know, I said to my husband, I was so upset, I said, you know, I'm so upset with this people, the women's thing, them Trump taking it away. I said, as far as I'm concerned, all of us women ought to just say, forget it. Either every single one of you men get out there and march with us, or else we're going to cut you off. And so when I was looking at this, signing it, now remember, I'm still fighting with my strokes, right? But I still have enough going on with me, physically and mentally and spiritually, that I work every single friggin' day. And I'm going on 67, okay? And I don't want to see it go down the street. I see these young adults, and I say, right on, right on. And she's you know, and if we could start, I don't know how we could go about starting to get people to start pitching in and start getting a national thing, because we sure have a heck of a lot of stuff going on now versus when we went out for the parenthood. I mean, they've taken it away. They took it away. They took it away. And there's some people out there that cannot afford to go anywhere for the STDs and everything. So I'm asking, what can we do other than write something? Because I've seen some letters that's been sent back, and it's like, that's not at all what we said. That's not at all what we said there about. So, yeah, I'm ready to hear something. I'm ready to be in action. So thank you.
I'm ready. I forgot to say that earlier. The Angry Republican point, but here's one thing I've never heard anybody say. Who is in this audience going to actually run? Hello? We're complaining. Well, who's doing anything? Are you old enough?
We gotta wait. We gotta wait a while, but we're doing
Okay,
it.
well, that's a start.
You know,
We need to replace them. Hello? We need to replace them with somebody else. Okay, so they're not here. Well, we're all complaining. We're not doing anything. Next election, replace them.
Yeah.
Even if it's a Democrat, guess what? The Democrat by then will be afraid of us because these people would have lost their job indefinitely. Then all the Republicans are going to be trying to kiss your ass. I don't know.
I've been sitting back there stewing about Obamacare because that's my main focus right now. If it wasn't for Obamacare, I wouldn't have been able to have shoulder surgery in December. I wouldn't have been able to have a knee replacement a year and a half ago. I wouldn't have been able to have my other knee replaced 9 weeks ago. I have a medication that I take that they asked me at Anchorage Neighborhood Health Center if I was on the sliding fee, and I said no. And they said that it would cost me over $1,000 if I didn't have Obamacare. $1,000 for a month's supply. Add that up over a year, I'd be dead. I can't afford $1,000 a month for one medication.
Nobody can.
When I need 5, plus my Ventolin. We need to do something.
You're right.
Because it's going to go away. It's going to go away. And Trump's going to make it go away. I'm surprised it hasn't gone away yet. But it's going to go away. I can guarantee it.
Just a couple of quick things. There are things that we can do. One of the reasons that the ACA was given a temporary reprieve, is how I'm looking at it, was due to considerable pressure on our members of Congress. The town halls, the real stories, meeting face-to-face, the letters, the phone calls, the donations supporting candidates and organizations to put more pressure on them helped with that considerably. So be sure to write the constituents. Let them know how you feel about them not showing up. We do intend to schedule another town hall, whether they show up or not.
Thank you.
Because we need, at least in my opinion, we need to at least voice our concerns and to meet and to organize.
Yeah.
And if that results in agitation and that results in change, I'm down with that.
Right on.
So,
right on.
Anyway.
You can email their website. I mean, I've been doing that for a long time. I usually have I have to find out about this on Thursday, and I grab the camera and start filming it, and I'm a volunteer. And you all know you can email them. You go to their webpage. Okay. And you go to the webpage and you tell them what your issue is in the comments section. Put your name and address in there. Email them. It goes right to the aide that handles that department for them. That's probably the easiest way to get a hold of them. Or you can call the Peterson building. Their name and numbers in the phone book. You can leave a message at 3 in the morning and tell them, I don't want Obamacare to end, whatever your message is. But it's important that you get involved. I mean, Edgar Blatchford is running against Don Young. He was a Republican, now he's a Democrat. He just announced he's a professor here at the university. He's a great candidate. So, you can jump on his campaign and get involved if you don't want to run yourself. He's a progressive, yeah. No, Edgar Blatchford is a native. He's a professor here at the university, a journalism professor, and he's very experienced. He grew up in the village. He's gone to school here in the United States, and he's an excellent candidate to replace Don Young.
And his name is again?
Edgar Blatchford.
Blatchford.
Yeah. So I'm filming this, and I got a camera. So if anybody wants to talk to the congressman directly with your comment, a policy comment, see me right now. I'll give you a one-on-one interview, and we'll send it to the congressman. I'll walk it over there. You know, the Peterson building is where, on the 7th floor is where Dan Sullivan's office is. The 6th floor is Murkowski's office. And Don Young's office is in Midtown, right behind Cuddy Park there.
It's on
B Street.
And for those of you that live...
We own their offices. You can go up there anytime. Go ahead.
For those of you that live in the valley, they are also have a
Yes.
standing meeting at 1:30 every Tuesday to stop by the offices in Paul or in Wasilla. So there is a group that's been doing that also.
Okay.
And our group meets at noon on Tuesdays. Usually we go to Senator Murkowski's office and then upstairs to Dan Sullivan's office. But every Tuesday, you're more than welcome at noon to meet. We're out there with the signs. You can see us in front of the Peterson building. And then we all go in and we, again, ask for a town hall. And we discuss with the aides and leave our public opinion messages and whatever the issues of the day are. I thank you very much for coming out tonight. We have one more person that wants to speak? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Please.
There's a class at 7 o'clock. Okay.
Yeah, we got to be here.
We have to wrap it up fairly quickly.
We got 10 minutes, right?
My name is Sherman Haley. I work with a local group called Move to Amend Anchorage. My number one concern is how moneyed interests have taken over our democracy, and one of the major problems is that the U.S. Supreme Court has decided that corporations should have constitutional rights as persons, which of course makes absolutely no sense. It makes sense to me that corporations should have some rights and privileges under law, but not constitutionally based. They need to be based in statute, and our elected representatives have the authority to decide what rights and privileges they should be granted and exercised. Our legislative authority created corporations through the corporate code. They should get to define it, not the U.S. Supreme Court with some specious interpretation of the legal history. This is especially important now that Gorsuch has been confirmed to the U.S. Supreme Court. You may recall that Gorsuch was the District 10 federal court judge on the panel that decided the Hobby Lobby case, where they decided that a corporation that has thousands and thousands of employees is entitled to religious freedom. Which, of course, what about the religious freedom of all the employees of the corporation that have their own rights of conscience and their own rights to decide for themselves what medical care they should have? So there is House Joint Resolution 48 pending in the House, one of the committees, I don't remember which one, which calls for a constitutional amendment. I would like all our delegation to go on record in support of this and introduce a companion resolution on the Senate side. This is not a partisan issue. I can show you poll data that shows that Republicans are within 1 point of Democrats and independents on this issue, rank and file Republicans, not elected politicians. And that I just this morning saw on a conservative website, a major Breitbart editor wrote his own editorial piece. It could have been written by me. It was hook, line, and sinker exactly the argument that we all know and make, that moneyed interests have completely drowned out the voices of average citizens, and the best strategy to correct this problem is a constitutional amendment. So,
when does your organization meet again?
Tomorrow night.
Where?
At downstairs at the Anchorage Unitarian Universalist Fellowship, 6:30 p.m. You can get with me afterwards if you want contact information. We also have a website presence.
And where is that located? University Church?
It's over in Airport Heights. I don't know the exact address.
All right.
But
part of the problem why they're not here is because they don't want to say anything that bothers the moneyed interests.
So yes, we'd love to have your help in we're taking resolutions to the community councils. We're building up to take the resolution to the Anchorage Assembly. And like I said, 18 states have already done this in over 700 communities. Do you have a card? I do not, but I have to thank you.
Thank you very much. I want to talk about funding for birth control and STI testing. Lots of the funding for lots of clinics, not just Planned Parenthoods, but public health clinics all across the nation depend on federal funds to keep their doors open, especially in places like Alaska, where we see a lot of rural communities that don't necessarily have the tax base there. So maintaining federal funding for those programs, especially in places like Alaska, is incredibly important. We're facing a public health crisis that we know how to solve. We know that funding these programs and getting people the health care they need is the way that we can solve it. So that's something that we need to maintain in a very important way as we move forward.
I agree. I can be partisan. I'm not a journalist right now. What do you want to continue with that, or you got another?
I'd like to just add on to that a little bit. Planned Parenthood is the largest provider of women's health services in the nation, and furthermore, so many women that depend on Planned Parenthood for healthcare are extremely low income and, in other words, at risk. So when you remove Planned Parenthood as a health source, then you are removing essentially the health services for women who desperately need it, the demographic that's most at risk. In other words, we need you to support Planned Parenthood, and we need you to support Planned Parenthood for the people who often can't use their voices to speak out for themselves.
And we need to understand that Planned Parenthoods need to stay open because they're that largest provider. I've heard a lot of arguments from some of your colleagues that say that other clinics will be able to pick up the burden. But when we listen to those other clinics, they say that is simply not true. These programs are understaffed and underfunded. Increasing that strain is only going to lower health outcomes.
Absolutely.
And anybody particular congressman or senator you want directed to, all three of them?
I would say all three of them, but particularly Lisa Murkowski. She's taken, and to you, Senator Murkowski, you've taken the right votes a lot of the time. You've protected.
Stop, and that you were a little blurred in the beginning, and so just started to take breath and started again with Senator Murkowski.
Okay.
And hold on, and go when you're ready.
Okay. Senator Murkowski, you've taken the right votes many times, and we really appreciate that. Your support for women is crucial, and it will continue to be crucial as we have a Senate that can easily have a tie broken by Mike Pence, who has a terrible record on women's rights. So it's really important that you stay strong, even though there is a lot of pressure facing you right now, and we really appreciate the votes you've taken, and hopefully you can talk to the other members of the Alaska delegation and impress upon them the importance of standing up for women in Alaska and across the nation.
Is there any other, you want to continue?
Just quickly to address Congressman Don Young and our other senator, Senator Sullivan, we want to say that even though you have not shown a past track record in voting for women, this does not exempt you from voting against women in the future. You really need to stand up and do the right thing for your constituents, and this is not something that we're going to continue to allow. In the future, not voting against women is what gets you voted out of office.
I'm a first-year college student in this coming fall, and I'm going to be one of the first people in my family to attend a four-year university out of state. And so this is really important to me, but funding is really hard to come by, and college prices are going up really quickly. I'm very concerned that the Education Department is cutting federal Pell Grants, because that's one of the ways that I'm going to be able to go to school. And without those, college might not be an attainable reality for me. So I'm very concerned with that, because if we're removing opportunities from people who have the drive and are willing to work for their education, then we're starving ourselves of solutions in the future, and that's a really dangerous proposition as we move forward.
Quickly then, you know, I was a Bernie Sanders delegate, and one of the things he proposed was free college tuition for people making $110,000 a year, I believe it was. It was actually in the Hillary campaign platform. Yes. How he would propose to do that is, I don't know if you guys know it or not, stock transactions were taxed at one point. FDR, who's one of my fans, put it in place to stop Wall Street speculation. So if they proposed and passed that little tax that they levy on stock transactions, thank you, it would pay for everybody's college tuition. So it is doable, the numbers do crunch. So how do you feel about that? Do you think that we should. Do you like Bernie's proposal?
Actually, personally, I was more a fan of Hillary's proposal. I think that having free college for everyone is something that we just currently don't have the resources to support. But having
that
those
was in Hillary's platform.
right, but that's why I'm saying I do like the way that she approached it. We're having those targeted interventions specifically for more low-income students who need that help more, and focusing that funding there was a much more pragmatic way to approach that. And I think that that's a really good way to start approaching moving forward, so we can increase opportunity for students.
Okay, do you want to chime in on college funding?
Absolutely. Increasing young people's access to education is always an investment in our future and a great way to put our money.
Any other topics you want to talk about?
I think that we're about finished.
Yeah, I want to just make a quick plug, kind of as per what I was talking about in the thing, just about refugees. I know that President Trump has a lot of latitude to make those kinds of decisions by himself, but that he needs to have pressure from Congress to know that he can't just turn away Syrian refugees and not face any kind of consequences for that. It's a humanitarian crisis. The videos speak for themselves, and we have a moral obligation to speak for those people and to provide them a safe place. It's simply the right thing to do, and it's the best thing to do for national security. So I urge our delegation to take that seriously and be an advocate for those who don't have a voice right now.
I had voiced some prior concerns at the town hall meeting regarding cyber war and technological advancement, particularly to prevent the catastrophic effects of global warming. And there may be a common solution in the transnational grid here in the United States as well as across Asia and Europe. The basic concept is to advance our technology through use of the new Berkeley supercomputer that should be reserved for commercial use exclusively, with new physics and new technology to be developed to both innovate so we don't have to have a carbon tax, so we can lower the price of alternate energy generating systems and incorporate them into the economy without subsidy. That computer must be used for innovation so that we can maintain our own economy and democracy of the Western alliances. Part of the implementation of that would be a transnational grid that would be controlled on fiber optic cables along a utility corridor that has both a 50 gigawatt power line across the United States along the Union Pacific and CSX railway right-of-ways, and that would supply local power to all of the crossing utilities and to provide secure fiber optic SCADA control to prevent intrusion from foreign powers, and to ensure that we aren't susceptible to solar flares as well, a buried line that could also electrify the rail system. And I hope to address this with you with your appropriate aid in your office.
Okay, did you email them?
No, not yet.
You know, you can email them as well.
Yes,
so
I
you
can.
should do that too. Let me just ask you a question. You know, I talked to Dan Sullivan on Thursday, and I mentioned to him that climate change is real, because like you, I said to be a geologist, there's no question that anthropogenic climate change is affecting.
It's irrelevant.
Right.
The question
let me ask you a question in terms of climate change. So, what do you think? You know, Dan, one of the things that Dan Sullivan mentioned to me was we can use more natural gas, which still gives off carbon. It's less, the carbon footprint is less.
It won't necessarily. There's a new turbine being developed by Toshiba with Net Power, that's CB&I and Exelon and 8 Rivers Capital, being developed in Texas. The prototype is being developed in Texas. It's an oxy-fuel process and will allow for easy sequestration of the exhaust. So we can use natural gas. To the extent that climate change is real or unreal is irrelevant, where the rest of the world will develop technologies that will be the basis of those economies, and that we cannot afford as the leading technological country in the world to not develop those technologies and sell it to the rest of the world. We need to maintain our economic security to compete against what will likely be a new Asian Union, and we need to have that economic strength in order not to be speaking pidgin Mandarin as in Blade Runner. And so that is a problem. Another issue I would hope you would address is the Coast Guard funding and creation of more captain of the port zones in particularly the Western Alaska captain of the port zone and in Dixon Entrance, where in the Western Alaska captain of the port zone we have 2,500 miles between Anchorage and the Canadian border on a direct sea route, not going out to the end of the Aleutians, and the next largest distance between captain of the port zones is between Portland and San Francisco, about 640 miles. We should have 4 more captain of the port zones to provide equal protection where there are salvage, lightering, and firefighting assets that are directly tied to the captain of the port city. We need those assets, particularly at Unimac Pass, preferably stationed at vessels at Akutan to provide timely response should there be an accident, particularly one where there might be Canadian dilbit, the tar sands oil deliveries to China through Unimac Pass, leaving from Burnaby.
Okay, so, let me ask you one more time, what is your background?
I've been a consultant for the Alaska Oceans Program and Cook Inlet Keeper, reviewing the Selendang IU incident and the Drift River oil spill contingency plan, which is a threat to welfare and fishing industry in Cook Inlet, where that oil might be incorporated into lahars from Mount Redoubt and be persistent over several decades.